So the theme is really around heart care and healthy living as a consequence of that. So if I had to ask you in this sort of room full of highly ambitious people doing well in life, if you had the choice, if someone gave you, God or whoever you believe in, gave you the option today that you could live to be 100 years, okay, with the exact same health you have today. So you don't deteriorate from where you are today, 100 years, and then after that 100 years, you just don't wake up one day, but like this. Would you take the offer? Yes. Hands up those who would take the offer. Okay. Now, if the offer was that you would live to be 100 years, but we cannot predict. Meaning, what will happen is what will happen to the average person, whatever you look around, right? As you go to 60, to 70, to 80, to 90, the average. You're not going to be necessarily, much worse than the average. So you don't know what's going to happen to you to worse, but you will live to 100. You will live. Now, how you're living, we don't know. Would you take that offer?
No.
Okay. So I guess that sort of answers the question. That in this room also quality of life clearly matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Right? That's the bottom line. That how you live your life matters. Okay. So this is just a picture of my hospital. This is the original building called the Heritage Building. So my department's is entire third floor. So if ever you're in South Mumbai, please do come and visit. And this was my question, who wants to live forever? It's a very famous Freddie Mercury Queen song, and this was the title of a YPO event I had done, and who wants to live forever, which comes to the next point of health span versus lifespan, right? That's what is the difference is exactly the question I asked you, and I'm sure you'll have figured out what is the difference, right? Lifespan is how many years you live. That's simple mathematical calculation. Every country in the world tells you our average lifespan, male, female, so and so. WHO will tell you for the world. That's lifespan. That's born to death. It's objective, it's easily measurable. The next one is health span, which is not as easily measurable, right? How many years are you going to live with good health? That's the question which I asked you at the beginning, and obviously it sounds like for all of you, that matters. Quality versus quantity of life, right? So you see this graph on your axis out here, you've got quantity of life or time, right? And on this is your quality of life. And what happens to most people is at a certain point they start declining and one day they die. This center line is the average line. This is what we all want, what we said, right? You are your healthiest and one morning you don't wake up. But as late as possible. Obviously you don't want that to happen at 40 or 50. But at 80 or 90 or 95, I'm sure everybody, like you all said, you'll be very happy to live to 100, be as healthy as you are today, and one day just not wake up. And this is also what happens to a lot of people, where in the 50s, 60s, life drops dramatically, the quality, but longevity goes on. And I'm sure all of you know friends, neighbors, someone in your family who's been suffering tremendously for 15, 18, 20 years, and with a very poor quality of life, they're living. So we all want to move the curve this way, upward. That's we want to do, right? But this is the question, I ask. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Okay? And I ask another question. Where do you see yourself in your last 10 years of your life? Now what does that mean? Everybody has what is called a terminal decade, meaning their last 10 years of their life. That may happen, somebody may live to 60, 70, 80, 90, so somebody lives to 90, then 80 to 90 is that person's terminal decade. If they live to be 82, then 72 to 82 is that person's terminal decade, right? So you got to figure out where do you want to be in that terminal decade. Why is that important? And that's something, nobody's too young to figure that out. Because what you want to do at that time, you will have to start doing today to be able to do at that time. That is the message, right? So just some pictures, what do your last 10 years look like? Let me assume that person's at least 75, 80 in their last 10 years. Do you want to be sort of playing a sport? Do you want to, be lifting your grandkids, running with them, playing with them, all of those kind of things, right? Is that what you want to be able to do? Put your grandkid on your shoulder, for example. Is that something you want to be capable of doing? And everybody doesn't have to be active. Somebody may say, no, I want to go to the forest and retire. I want to go to an old ashram and just pray all day long, and that's fine. But if you want to be active and you want to do travel and tourism yourself, then you need to be active. You don't need strength to lift a grandchild if you don't want to, but if you want to travel, you need strength to lift a 5-kilo bag to put in your cabin baggage, or to lift up on your conveyor belt and put it in, right? So you need basic strength and mobility. So, or do you want to be like this in your last 10 years, right? So clearly that's not what anybody wants. But the point is, if you want that at 85 you're traveling and you are lifting a 12, Indians never pack light, all of you know that, you're lifting a nice 15, 70 kg, just whatever, 23 kilo limit, Indian bag will be 22.9. You want to lift a 22.9 kilo bag to put it on this, if you're traveling business class, somewhere you have to lift your bag. And you put it, if you want to do that at 77, then at 67 you should be able to lift 30 kilos as an example. If at 77 you want to lift that, right? You can't say that what you lift today is not your same capability, assuming nothing is changing 10 years, because physical capability, muscle mass, everything drops. That's just a simple fact of life. Actually, physically your body starts going downhill at 30 kind of, 25, 30 is where you reached your physical peak. And after 60 and 70 especially, the drop percentage becomes even more. Okay, so especially in women, after menopause for example. So these are things you need to think about. Not just think about them, obviously act upon them as well, but first you at least have to think upon them. Okay. So while I was doing all that, we were looking at various options. So we were saying, can we do it on a drug wise? And there's this fabulous new medicine also that's come out. Okay, it's not Ozempic before you start guessing. It reduces the risk of heart disease by 30%. Sorry, 40%. Stroke, 27%. Okay, these are all medical journal statistical facts. Diabetes by about half. Breast cancer by about half. Colon cancer by half and more. Alzheimer's by 1/3. Okay, the longer you live, people worry about Alzheimer's. So you can imagine how difficult it will be to get your hands on this drug and how expensive it must be. And this is how expensive it is. I'm not saying this, these are studies. This exercise benefits are all of these things I told you about. Okay, heart disease, colon cancer, this is all proven statistically in the world's leading medical journals. Okay, so I almost joke that this is how much it costs. And today, if you go to Marine Drive or Worli Seaface, you see there's a trend to go barefoot running, also the big trend. The Milind Soman made it famous also. So there I say that you don't even need shoes.
Absolutely.
That's all you require is a pair of legs. And I'll show you one more slide which will make you think, which is you don't even need legs.
Very good.
Huh? This gentleman actually is a good friend of mine. His name is Major D.P. Singh. He lost his leg in Kargil when he was 25, 1999 that was. He was in a whole year in hospital. I'm going to cut a long story short, and he rehabilitated himself, and now he's running half marathons all over the country and inspiring others, right? So all he's doing it is on heart, willpower, all of that. It's not even a pair of legs, okay? So that is important. So this is the point. You know, exercise, you take, if you could put all the benefits of exercise into one tablet or pill, it would be, you know, a wonder drug. Unfortunately, today a reverse thing has happened. Rather than all people coming to me, and especially spouses, saying that, "Arey, my spouse is not doing anything, please give them advice," they're saying, "Tell them to stop exercising, they're doing too much," and we are hearing all these people are dropping dead. I said that's the reverse, because you have newspaper headlines and articles like this, you know, where you have some few famous people have it, and then that whole fear psychosis takes place. Okay, so I want to reassure you that outliers will also always happen. Young footballer in the 2020 Euro, Christian Eriksen of Denmark had a race. Okay, but that's a different one. That is a condition where he had a congenital heart disease. So everybody who collapses is not a heart attack. It is a cardiac arrest because of certain congenital conditions as well. Okay.
Doc, he's still playing for Man U now.
Yes, I know. This was, on an article in Sunday Midday, and they quoted me a lot during this when this whole thing they were talking about some well-known young Indians who had died. Okay. So the bottom line is, it's not that bad things can't happen, but we look at statistics. Let me show you a study. This is from the New England Journal of Medicine, the most respected medical journal, and they looked at all marathon races over 10 years, so 11 million people. And just as a quick thing, one line if you want to see, the rate of death was 1 per 259,000 participants. I tell people in Mumbai that that's safer than traveling by local train. Because 10 people, die on our tracks every day. Right? So the point is not to make light of even one single person, but the point is that these numbers are extremely regular. When people hear about it, it just becomes a larger than life instance. And what is very sad, okay, this is a technical slide and I'm not going to go into it, but simple message I'm going to tell you is that most people, when they've had something sudden and they've gone back and spoken to families or spoken to the person, if that person has survived, they have found that they had some warning signs in the few days before or the weeks before. But they ignore it. Acidity hai, ye normal hai, ye hai, wo hai, all that goes on and leave it, don't worry about it, and then a bad thing happens. So that's the messages. Take this, I'll give you a true life story. When I was giving a talk once, there's this person 46 to 47 years old, he was feeling unwell one evening. He's a regular runner. He thought it was because of acidity, standard thing. Then acidity hai, oily food for dinner. So he said next morning he was still not feeling well, and the coach told him not to run. He still said, no, it's okay, I'll run, I'll feel a little bit better. 5 to 7 minutes was very uncomfortable, so he stopped the run, started walking back home, and collapsed on the way to his house. Okay? So now one will say that this was sudden, no doubt, but he had the warning. Na? If at that time you took it up, then sudden would not happen. So no doubt, there will be a group of people or a percentage where genuinely there is no warning, nothing. That, yes, that is also a fact. It's not that a human body, it exists. But there are a large group where you have your warning. So pay attention, especially any type of discomfort. See, people in the textbook write angina matlab pain in the left chest, left hand. It doesn't have to be left chest, left hand. It can be either side. Any discomfort, especially if it's more on exertion, more on walking, you sit, it goes away. That type of pain is very possible to be cardiac. So get it checked out. Shortness of breath. Once in a while to feel short of breath, you come late for a meeting, you're running in, all that, for a few seconds you're breathing hard, that's okay. But if you find, okay, my office on the second floor, I've been climbing for years and years, and nowadays after first floor I have to stop for a few seconds. That's not normal. If you never take the staircase and first time you're taking and you feel out of breath, that is normal. But if you're doing something on a routine basis and now you can't do it, that's a warning sign. Please get it checked. Okay? So I'll give you a quick 1-minute biology lesson. Your heart ultimately is a very simple organ. It is just a muscular pump. Its job is to supply blood to the whole body. It's not a complicated organ. Brain is complicated, liver complicated hai, lungs complicated hai, kidney complicated hai, heart is very simple. Khoon aata hai, khoon jata hai. It just acts as a pump. But to do the work, pumping the full life, it requires blood supply. And the heart's blood supply comes from these blood vessels called coronary arteries. If you see your own hand, you will see some blood vessels running outside your fist. The heart is like that. These blood vessels run on the outside. They don't run in the heart. And they are like pipes supplying water to your house. If there's a blockage in your house ka pipe, there will be less water supply to your kitchen, to your bathroom, and you will suffer. Same way, if there is a compromise in blood supply to your heart muscle, you will suffer. You will get symptoms. Those warning signs are your angina, okay? Because there is less blood supply. And this is how a blockage looks. We are born with clean arteries, and over time the blockage develops. Okay, why it develops, we'll talk about it. And then when it develops, you get the warning signs, which some people get warning, some don't. But many get and they ignore. The angina feels often like acidity. I always tell people, when in doubt, go to the nearest hospital. Acidity hoga, so what will happen? They will give you some medicine. You will have spent 1-2 hours. You will have to spend 1,000-2,000 rupees, and that's it. But your life could be saved. If it was angina and you didn't go, see, our habit is ghar pe bed hai. First of all, we'll argue with our people at home. Then we'll call a family doctor who's gone somewhere. It takes 2 hours to come. Then he'll organize some other testing. Then by the time you reach the hospital, minimum 4, 5, 6 hours. Even in affluent society, that happens. And then damage has already taken place, or damage is increasing. The quicker you get help, the better. Okay? So, what we need to do is we need to prevent this from happening. To prevent anything from happening, okay, we need to find out what the risk factors are. Anything we do in life has got risk factors. You all are in the travel industry. Number one risk factors, Israel and Palestine start fighting, आपका flights are rerouted. Iran sent one missile into the, suddenly all flights became 1 hour late, 2 hours late, people lost connections, you all must not have slept at night or your staff must not have slept at night. Right? So war is a risk factor to your business as an example. Change in climate, change in so things. Economic thing. If the world undergoes an economic thing, then that's a risk factor to you, because obviously if people are, COVID was a risk factor nobody anticipated. COVID came and it shut down the travel industry for whatever length of time at least, right? So those are all your risk factors. In your business, you know your business risk factors and you are all smart people, so you will do your best to reduce them. So what are the risk factors for the blockages to happen? Because if we want to reduce the chance of it happening, we must know the risk factor. So you tell me, what are they? What causes blockage in the arteries, which leads to heart attack?
Oily foods.
Fats.
Okay, food, what?
Cholesterol.
Okay, what else?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, sedentary life, yes. What else? So many, 5, 6 big things are.
Lack of sleep.
Okay, that can
Diabetes.
contribute. Diabetes is a very, very big one.
High triglyceride.
Triglycerides, which is part of your cholesterol, yes. Blood pressure, very important.
Shock. Sudden shock.
So that may, let's put that under mental health, stress kind of
Stress.
category. Let's put that under that. What else? What is one very big?
If nobody is doing physical activity.
Correct. Go sedentary lifestyle.
Sedentary.
Madam said that.
Diet.
Family history.
Diet.
That's very important.
Diet.
Diet.
You take your tea first.
No, I'm fine. What else? What is one habit? Which is the
Smoking. Sugar.
Yes, smoking.
Sugar.
Alcohol, good news is not, it may do many things, but it doesn't cause blockage. Everybody's happy.
DSK.
You made the day. Okay.
Smoking.
And one, I think everything we've covered, weight, excess body weight. Okay. That's obesity, right? We didn't say that. And one more thing which we cannot change. One, Dr. Batra said, which is family history. What can you not change? What else? Which we all want to change.
Habits.
Habits.
I can change habits. What is a one-way street? What goes only in one direction? Age.
Age.
As you age, these are all chronic diseases. Diabetes, heart, stroke, cancer, they're all related to aging. So the blockage part. So as that you can't change. Right? So these are all the risk factors. Okay. So family history, smoking, tobacco use, hypertension, ideally blood pressure should be less than 120/80. High cholesterol, which has got different components, total cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, HDL. Okay. Diabetes, India is unfortunately called diabetes capital of the world because maximum diabetics are there. Okay.
Doctor, what is the bad cholesterol and good
I'll
cholesterol?
tell you, let me finish the whole thing, then we can have the Q&A. But since you asked that, LDL is called bad cholesterol. That is when which gets stuck in your artery. So LDL is bad. Think of L as lousy. So LDL is your bad cholesterol. Okay. Obesity, lack of exercise, stress also. Now, of everything I mentioned so far, we can measure it. I can tell you your blood pressure, I can tell you sugar, I can tell you weight, I can tell you cholesterol. I can't give you a number for stress. Okay, and I know that because of all my daughter is now studying in the UK, so non-stop we are buying flying tickets for her, wife, myself, so I know how much I hassle my travel agent, so I can imagine that it's a stressful line and a stressful industry, right? But stress is something we cannot measure. There is no this. Also, the fact of the matter is, stress is important. Stress is not by itself a bad thing. Stress helps you perform. All of you are sitting here at this table, I'm sure all of you are performers and have done well in your individual lives, businesses, etc. Right? So some amount of stress is a good thing. But when you're not able to handle it, when that stress becomes distress, when you don't sleep at night because of it, then that's important. Then that's a problem. Like take an exam. Nah? We all done exams, all children have done exams. There are some children who use the exam as a push, study really well last 2-3 weeks and zoop zoop, do very well. And then there are some who are good students. But because of that stress, they will not sleep, they will vomit, they will stress out too much, and though they were otherwise good students, because of just completely getting overstressed, they won't perform in the exam. The stress was the same, exam is the same for all students. Some took it nicely and did really well, some same way, right? When the war happened and the travel industry was affected, it affected all of you sitting in this room. But obviously some may have handled it a little bit better than the others. So the question is, how do we handle the stress? In fact, Dr. Batra just wrote an entire book on stress, which I was privileged to be part of the sort of release group last Monday. I would highly recommend getting it. Okay, so when we have these blockages, just to show you a little medical picture, we do an angiography. In an angiography, they'll pass one catheter either in your leg or in your arm, and they will look at pictures. So they will put a dye in this. You can see this is a smooth flow in both these pictures. When a blockage takes place, it looks like this. So depending on where the blockage is, how much the blockage is, we do only medical management, or we do a stent, or we do a bypass. That are the options we have. Okay. So far we spoke a lot about heart part. Let me show you one more benefit of a very good lifestyle, which is effect on the brains. Earlier, science thought that the number of our brain cells was fixed, and after a certain point in life, we did not get new brain cells. Today, it's shown that new brain cells, what we call neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, can happen. And they found that 3 things cause brain cells to increase. One is exercise, 2 is healthy eating, and 3rd is learning, always doing something new, learning in life. So they've actually done research in animal models. And these were the exercising animals, these are non-exercising. As you can see, the exercising ones had more. These are all brain cells. They had developed more. Today, imaging is allowing us to prove those things. Okay? Very nice quote I read. This was from Henry Ford. He said, anyone who stops learning is old. Whether this happens at 20 or at 80, anyone who keeps on learning not only remains young, but becomes constantly more valuable regardless of physical capability. Again, Dr. Batra is a good example. He's learning a new instrument, correct? Now, he's singing, music, photography, so he's constantly learning. But some classes you told me that you're starting, right?
Singing.
Singing,
Sing every night, yeah.
No, but I thought, wasn't there also a musical instrument?
Not yet.
It was just singing. I know that he's constantly doing new things. Okay? So the age, the more you keep on learning, your brain cells and all also keep active. Okay, so there's no excuse to be physically active given your age, anything, right? And like I told you, strength training. So this lady is 77 years old, okay, and she's lifting fairly heavy weights, like about 15 to 20 pounds, and on 2 unstable surfaces, one ball like that and okay. It's a pretty hard thing to do. So age is no excuse. You can do it. And this lady is my mother, by the way. This is Fauja Singh. At 100 years, he ran a marathon. He lived in Punjab till he was 60-ish, 65, some lad. Then his family emigrated to, I think, UK and then to Canada.
Yes.
And he started running at the age of some 65, 70. And at 100, he's run a marathon. So it's amazing. He had come to Mumbai as a brand ambassador about 10 years ago and I met him. So just a fantastic individual. Okay. So there's no excuse to be physically active. One part is doing exercise, the other is physical. How many of you recognize this picture? Very good. This is Churchgate Station at rush hour. Why I show this picture is because these people may not be going to the gym, but they're very active. They have walked from Nariman Point to Churchgate, Fountain to Churchgate, which a lot of the white collar people don't do. We try to be exactly. Driver takes us to the toilet also. And then we go to the gym for half an hour. Whole day we'll be inactive. While these bicharas, whole day they are active, but they are not going to formally exercise, right? The point is both. Today they found that, there's a new caption, they say sitting is the new smoking. And if you sit for too many hours of the day, just in one position and you don't, then, so try and be up and active. I gave this talk at BASF once and the chairman sent me a picture after the talk. He's saying, after you give the talk, I got a desk which converts from sitting desk to standing desk. You can just, so this is one desk. You can even just have a small little podium tab if you have your own office. And again, I'm sure 60-70% of your work tends to be on phones and things like that. So make a rule, whenever you're on the phone, just pace up and down. Even that pacing up and down, however small your office is, even if it's 5 feet here and 5 feet there, that's activity and it's better than sitting all day long, right?
Now, what is the difference? You sit and do the job, desk work and then
Just the act of standing, act of gravity, movement, it just helps. So every little bit helps. It's not that in one day if you stand for 10 seconds, it's going to make some dramatic difference. But if every day you stand for half an hour more, or you sit half an hour less, other way of putting it, over a lifetime that makes a difference. So even if you take 5 steps here, they may not. I mean, you have to just see, because let's face it, everybody sitting in this room is privileged within the society that we live in, right? So we are not forced to do labor. On the other hand, food is in front of us all the time. Whether we like it or not, we always have that, right? So we have to find ways to be creative. I do a silly thing. My office is on the 3rd floor at work. So whenever I have to go to the washroom, I go to the 2nd floor washroom. Now it may sound like a silly thing. 3rd floor to 2nd floor is not a big deal. But if I do it 4-5 times a day, and I do that at a workplace for 5, 10, 15 years, then it all adds up, right? So that's the bottom line. So these are, I'm going to just end with 1 or 2 slides about just food. I'm going to just touch on a simple topic. What should I eat? Now I'm not going to go into a great detail here, but all I want to say is that basically your stomach is not a waste basket. Means it's not that you be careful of what you eat, because what you eat is also going to affect your health. Okay, there are fat diets. People say, I eat 0 sugar, I eat 0 fat, I eat only protein, I eat only this, I do fasting, I do this. Do whatever you want, that's up to you. But very important is quantity of food also matters. That's the mistake people in our society make. We say healthy khate hain, but healthy ka 10 cheez khayenge, you'll still put on weight. I'll just give you this one line from a weight perspective, okay? I'm not saying from a health perspective. From a weight perspective, 95% of the game is quantity, not quality. From a weight perspective, quantity. And I'm making a blanket statement, 95% of us eat too much, including myself. Like I'm saying, we are lucky. It's just there in front of us all the time. So we have to consciously control, okay? So excuses that we make for our health, right? Biggest excuse is time. Time nahi hai. Iske, whatever, whether it's exercise, whatever, right? So it's not a question of I don't find the time, I've got to make. And I'm not just saying it because he's here, but I think this man is probably one of the best time managers I've seen in my life. Seriously, I have no idea how he does the things he does, but he's an incredible time manager. You should take a talk on time management.
I walk 10,000 steps every day.
Yeah, that you do, but I'm saying time management. Your time management is just incredible. So, this is a group of people, like I told you, that Major TP Singh, who had lost his leg in Kargil, he's formed a group called the Challenging One, and this was at a talk I had given once. So all these people here, apart from this man, who's the organizer, have either 1 leg or 2 legs which are prostheses, and they were all running in the marathon. Okay, this man is Mr. Chawla. He is, at the time I took this picture, this is in the CCI CK9, about 10 years back this picture is, he was I think 68 or 69, blind, and he runs a marathon every day, right? I'm just showing these are real life people around us. They're nothing, they're just normal people in that sense. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, as we call it, right? This is a group of our patients every year. On World Heart Day, we take them for a walk or a run. This is behind Oberoi, right outside your office. Okay, I'm going to end with just this one picture, and I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you did this today? Put your hand up.
All of us.
Okay, Fair enough. I just asked how many did this today. And I'm not asking today, but I'll tell you in 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, how many did this, or this, or this, or this, or something like this? So it's
Walking,
not,
I
right?
mean, exercise.
Okay, so you
Walk
see
and
the,
exercise.
so everybody didn't put their hand up, and she didn't say all of us, right? So the message that I'm saying is, when I asked you for brushing your teeth, you looked upon it also as a what sort of stupid question is it? Because that in your head is something, it's part of your life. Whatever happens, you will brush your teeth. Right? Whatever happens. The only time where you will not is overnight flight ho gaya, train mein, and that too, one moment you land, moment you'll go straight to wherever you'll feel uncomfortable, right? Because it's part of your life. That's not the same way you look at exercise. Exercise, that's a good thing, kiya, aaj I'm happy. But you don't say, so I'm going to tell you one line and you have to understand the difference. You will be long-term successful, not the day you feel happy when you exercise, but the day you feel unhappy when you don't.
Yes.
There is a difference. You don't feel happy the day you brush your teeth. Aaj subah main daant brush kiya. You're not going to come and tell someone that, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't, for whatever reason, you're uncomfortable. But exercise, you say, today exercise. So, and when I say exercise, I'm not saying whatever your plan is. If your plan is to walk your 10,000 steps, fine. If your plan is to walk your dog, fine. If your plan is to do the yoga, whatever it is. I'm not saying you got to climb mountains. That's not my point. Whatever is your plan, whatever is your, I will do this, you make sure you do it. And that's going to be part of your life, right? So many of our people are very religious. If they don't pray before leaving house in the morning or go to the mandir on the way, they are feeling uncomfortable. Same, because that's part of their life. So come what may, very rarely they will miss it. So here also, come what may, make it part. The only real excuse, if I may use the word, is if you are not well. Yes, not well, then don't exercise. Then in fact, not well and exercising actually is a bad thing. That fair enough is a proper reason. Okay. So we finished in 35 minutes. Thank you. This is just a copy of my book. We are going to have a rerun print right now because the first edition sort of went off. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, you can sit down.
No, I'm fine. I can see. I can make eye contact.
We will start
How we
with
create bad
one
cholesterol?
question per person, please.
One heart
That's like here.
How we create bad cholesterol in body?
So cholesterol in the body is largely also made in your liver. Okay, three things contribute to cholesterol. Your liver, which is like a factory making it, the food you take, and the exercise you do or you don't do. Now where the liver is concerned, and the liver is like a factory like a making cholesterol, to some extent, or not some extent, to a large extent, that's quite genetic. So you may not be able to change all that much. But from the food we eat, there again is a bit of controversy, but fatty food, food with saturated fat, full fat food, that tends to contribute towards the cholesterol. Yes.
Especially this, who started as a hospital, Kupila Way, but then he expired.
Dr. Batra.
What was the reason of that?
So he had an heart issue. Now, I will not know someone's personal thing what happened, but I do know that he had a heart attack and he was going to seek help, but in that much time I think the catastrophe happened.
So what food we should eat before doing exercise and what food we should eat after doing exercise?
So honestly, if you are firstly doing what I call moderate exercise, right? Moderate exercise, walking, brisk walk for half an hour, a little light workout in the gym, all of that. If you're doing that, you don't have to change any food. Nothing. If you had lunch at 1 in the afternoon, exercising at 6 in the evening, and you had nothing between, have a little apple, have one banana, have a tea with one biscuit, something light to get you going. If you are doing normal light exercise, you don't have to get into the ye khane ka hai, aadhe ghante pehle, uske baad ye khane ka hai. That's only if you are doing some fairly serious 1-2 hours high intensity running, heavy weight lifting, then all that matters. But people get this, they do very well. खाने का पेट पहले और बाद. This part. So, you know, post exercise, if you had a sort of a good strength workout, then a meal with some protein in it would be a good idea. And if it's a very
like sprouts and all.
yeah, but sprouts are good any time. I mean, even if you exercise or you didn't exercise. That's what I'm saying. So don't worry too much about it. Only if you're doing it at a very serious and a high level of strength workout, then you need protein to replenish. If you're doing a high level cardiovascular workout, again, running, squash, tennis at a high level, not just for fun club.
No, I do marathon exercise, but
Then you need to replenish your sugar content because that will get carbohydrate content that gets depleted when you do high level aerobic exercise.
So ये जो book है वो आ गया कि आने वाला है?
ये है on Amazon.
Amazon है.
हाँ.
Doctor, this regarding sudden death
Ah.
between the age group of 45 to 60,
Aashish.
post-COVID scenario after
Yeah.
the injection, people assume so many things. And the day before yesterday, there was a news of that AstraZeneca, which the vaccine who has taken some scientifically proved, which may cause the attack, etc.
Blood clots.
What will you say about that?
Deep
See,
vein
the
thrombosis.
problem is people grab headlines. Today we become a world, a population where our attention span is 30 seconds, 40 seconds. No one wants to read below the headline, right? The vaccine is delivered to 100 million people. And if they find, I've not seen the study, if they find that 40 out of 100 million people had a clot, that is statistically nothing. No? So people have suddenly gone because everybody loves to believe in conspiracy theories. My personal is very obvious. Look at the millions of lives that are saved. In COVID, people are dying left, right and center in front of us. Now after the vaccine, nobody is dying in front of you, na? So there is the
Everything
question
have a
when
side
we-
effect. Everything
No, no,
have a
but-
side effect.
So here, there may be, again, I have not read the original study, I have just read newspaper headlines. So yes, there would be, there are people who had clots, but the numbers are the question is anything, is a risk benefit. We take aspirin, aspirin is a life-saving medicine. But one in so many 100 patients, aspirin will cause a bleed in the stomach, will cause a bleed in the brain and cause a stroke. But it's life-saving, right? So everything is what is the benefit versus what is the risk. And so far worldwide the benefits of a COVID vaccine or a polio vaccine or any of these major vaccines, there is just no question, means it's not even a discussion of the benefit versus the risk.
What's your advice to us? Because so many good like whey proteins and all that stuff
Yeah.
flavored. I mean, it's so convenient, just put it in your session, while driving to work you can have it. So you're saying that.
So I personally believe that the protein intake that we need can be obtained from the food that we eat. Okay? There are two categories of people in which it may be difficult. Number one is if people are working out at a very high level. Firstly, let's understand that the average person needs 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. We round it off to 1 gram. So if you're 70 kilos, you need 70 grams. 70 grams can easily be got through that. You have find people in gyms and trainers and all, they are brainwashed into telling you 2 grams, 3 grams, that's wrong, your kidneys will backfire. Only those who are again doing very intense workouts, cardiovascular or strength, which is hardly not even 2% of population, their requirement becomes 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 grams per, which also can be brought through food, right? So if you're at a very high intensity, and you're vegetarian or vegan, I don't even have milk products, then you may struggle to meet your protein requirements, or thoda you top up with a protein bar or whey protein. I'm not against it. But I don't believe that everybody needs to have supplementation. I don't, for example, okay? And I work out reasonably intensely.
The major cause for a bad heart is cholesterol.
It's one of the causes. Like I told you, so risk factor concept. Think of a car when you're driving, right? To avoid an accident, you need many things perfect. For example, speeding is a risk factor. Oil on the road is a risk factor. Bad brakes are a risk factor. Talking on a mobile phone is a risk factor. Drinking and driving is a risk factor. I can't tell you that is talking on the phone more dangerous than drinking. Is an oil spill on the road suddenly more dangerous than speeding? You know what I mean? They all contribute. But cholesterol is one of the major ones for sure.
Now, what I understand, what I have studied,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, cholesterol is majorly, as you said, it comes from the liver. That's
Yes.
the natural
Yeah.
process. We
Yes.
can't do nothing about it,
Yes.
whatever. It's
Yes.
a genetic thing
Yes.
and it comes on its own.
Yeah.
Secondly, it comes through the other products, like what we
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
Mainly what I understand is the animal product. Increases the cholesterol,
Finish. No, not necessarily, but to finish your question.
but it's the animal and the animal product. So some vegetarian, they say that we are not eating non-veg, but we still have a cholesterol.
Correct.
So they are eating animal product, like milk is an
Correct.
animal product,
Absolutely
paneer
right.
is an animal
Absolutely
product, butter,
right.
cheese, ghee, lot of,
You're right.
these are all animal product, but they say that we don't eat animal product.
Yes.
But we still have a cholesterol. So
Yes.
the cholesterol contribution is from the animal product.
So you're right in the sense that cholesterol in food comes from animal products. But remember that the cholesterol we eat in our food, classically egg yolk had a bad name, shrimps had a bad name, some of those, that is not converted to cholesterol in your blood. The cholesterol you eat in a liver, if one has to have that, or you eat in egg yolk is not converted to cholesterol in your body. Okay, a lot of the saturated fat, which is there even in things like whole milk and all, that gets converted to cholesterol in the body. Plus your body, like I told you and like you repeated, the liver is making it. But there's absolutely nothing that vegetarians cannot have a high cholesterol. We see vegetarians walking around with very high cholesterol, including people who may be vegan also. So that's
Now
not
to control the cholesterol, the medicine what we get is statin.
yes.
And statin has a side effects as far as the muscles are concerned.
Very, very small number of people have it. I must have seen in my lifetime 30,000 people on statins. I must have had to stop 5 people because of genuine side effects. So again, it's one of those things like COVID vaccine, because it's very successful, conspiracy theories are built around it. Okay. Again, statins still today, and people keep saying, right, doctors, you all used to say one thing, now you're saying. We go with science. Till today, the science available shows you that statins have been wonder drugs, especially for people with heart disease. No questions asked. Somebody with heart disease must be on statin for life, no questions asked. The muscle thing, in a very, very small percentage of people, it bothers them so much that we stop. So it's not zero, but it's a very, very, very small percentage.
Is there anything for these muscle pains that you get when you take statin?
People take CoQ10, there are various options we can try. There are 3-4 different types of statin, we can change them around. So there are things one can do, but there are a few people who know everything and they still have problems.
But is it, does it harm you if you stop statins while you're taking them and suddenly stop? Is it
Nothing is suddenly stopping is not the harm, but like if you're stopping a good thing, the benefits will stop. Then ultimately you lose the benefits. That's what it is. Not that harm will happen, but you lose benefits. So your risk of heart disease is going up. It's not that you stop a statin today, tomorrow you'll have a heart attack. Aisa nahi.
No, we had a doctor who had come while I was
Yeah.
working. He was a cardiologist. I remember his name now. So I had gone and told him that, I'm on statins
Yeah.
and whatever. So he looked at my report and he says, just stop it. I said, are you serious? He's telling me, yes, you just stop it, he said. Then
No,
again, I went back to my cardiologist.
He's told you to stop. Now I can't comment on that individual case. Maybe your numbers were so fantastic he felt you didn't need it. That I can't comment. But
Doctor, nowadays I find for vegan, I don't know milk. Is milk really harmful? During young age you were told milk is a very healthy for eyes and this and that.
So
Nowadays everybody says don't have milk.
no, so I am not going to stand here and tell you don't have milk. Okay, that I'm not doing as a general comment. No. There are some people who have lactose intolerance. There are some people we've seen in kids, and we see it through practices that they are a little allergic to milk. It tends to give them
That is
asthma.
different.
Those are different
But
things.
other milk is not harmful.
No, milk per se I would not label as harmful. No.
A lot of people
A lot of people also stop who are vegan. The genuine vegan people are stopping milk for ethical and moral reasons,
Yeah.
not health reasons, because they believe that a cow's milk is for the calf. That's not a health thing. That tends to be more a moral
But
ethical
normally they
thing.
say cow's milk is good, otherwise normally.
So let's not call it, I don't want to label. I believe that all foods are fine in certain quantities, right? So I don't believe in this concept that this is just superfood and this is poisonous, right? A samosa, if you had once a week at a meeting like this, one piece, I think that's okay. But if you had 4 of them every afternoon, then that might be a bit much, right? So, everything is quantity.
Sir, I have one doctor video. He says you should always keep one emergency kit in your pocket. Having 3 tablets, Dispirin, Astrovestin and Clopidogrel.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a heart problem, just take it so that you have 2 golden hours to reach to the hospital. So should we keep this?
So the aspirin part is absolutely right. If you feel like you're having a heart attack, ekdam chest is hurting, somebody is feeling like they're sitting or that kind, and you take an aspirin and you eat it up, you chew it, so it acts very quickly. And he's right to say Dispirin because Dispirin is uncoated aspirin, so it acts faster. It's very cheap and so in fact, it's normally not taken because it causes acidity, but at that moment you don't care for acidity care. So taking a Dispirin which is another word for Ecosprin or aspirin, and you're chewing it is definitely a very good idea. Adding a statin, yeah, good idea. And Clopidogrel is like Dispirin only. So that they normally give in hospital, but sometimes complicate keeping 3 tablets. So the biggest saver is your Dispirin or Ecosprin. That part is correct.
Doctor, just one question.
Sorbitrate
If you
and
say-
Dispirin, what is the difference?
Sorbitrate acts differently. Sorbitrate is really more for relieving chest discomfort. So sorbitrate is not a lifesaver the way Dispirin or Ecosprin is. Sorbitrate will just give you some relief, but
Last
not
question for the
save.
lady.
3 hours is good enough in between one meal to other meal.
Yes.
Last question for the lady.
The ladies always have the last word, so
Last word.
Yes.
As you said that if it's hereditary, what is the best way to, is there any this thing to, control?
See, because something is hereditary does not mean that you will have a problem.
Not necessarily.
No, not at all. It just means that your risk is a little higher. So you take thoda more
Precaution.
That's what.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Great learning for all of us.
Thank you.
I will remember this for a very long time. Thank you for your time and
Thank
it's
you.
so useful. Before I request our Vice President to give you a token of love and affection of the afternoon you spent with us, just a few house announcements. The next 2 meetings will be held on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, not the 1st Wednesday. So please make a note of that, and they will be in Townside, mostly in Marine Plaza. The next few speakers that we have for the next quarter, we have one speaker who's going to talk on about the power of the Indian passport. I'm sure you'll all be interested to hear that. And another one will talk about sound as a healing. We'll actually come and play some sounds and tell you how there's some international research on how sound can actually heal you. So I think that's for the next 2 months. So I just thought I'll let you know so that you'll get excited about it.